Good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining me this afternoon. I'm really excited to be here with you and to talk to you about WaterAid and some of the great work that we do. My name is Rose Schisler, and I work as a volunteer for the WaterAid Speaker Network. So in my day job, I work for a big water company, so that's why it's so important for me to share the great work that WaterAid do and how we can work together to help communities that WaterAid support. I'm going to be talking to you for about 15 or 20 minutes this afternoon, and I want to keep this kind of interactive and fairly informal. So if you have any questions at any point, then just shout them out, interrupt me. That would be absolutely great. I don't want to I want to hear from you during this session. So I'm really glad to be kind of with you today. So talking about water, clean drinking water and toilets are so normal for us that we tend not to imagine what it might mean to not have access to these basic services. But 1 in 9 people in the world are living without clean water. 1 in 3 people don't have access to a decent place to go to the toilet. And 1 child dies every 2 minutes from diseases that could have been halved by clean water and good hand washing with soap. Our goal is to reach everyone, everywhere, with clean water, decent toilets, and good hygiene. WaterAid is an international not-for-profit determined to make clean water, decent toilets, and good hygiene normal for everyone, everywhere, within a generation. Since we started in 1981, we've remained resolutely focused on tackling these 3 essentials that transform people's lives. It's really clear that without all 3 of these, clean water, decent toilets, and good hygiene, people cannot live dignified and healthy lives. With all 3, however, individuals can unlock their potential, break free from poverty, and change their lives for good. Children grow up healthy and strong, women and men get to earn a living, and whole communities begin to thrive. This sounds normal because it should be. At WaterAid, we inspire people and we spark chain reactions to help deliver lasting change. We work closely with partners internationally and on the ground in some of the toughest places in the world and help to achieve widespread change. Millions of people have already taken control of their lives and built better futures. So next, I want to talk to you in a little bit more detail about what these 3 things mean: clean water, decent toilets, and good hygiene. Clean water is a basic human right. It's something that we turn on the tap for every day. We flush the toilet every day, but millions of people have to drink water so dirty it could kill them. Together, we are going to get clean water to everyone, everywhere, within a generation. Decent toilets bring health, safety, and dignity, and we need to make sure that nobody has to go without one. And finally, good hygiene. Good hygiene really does make a difference and really does save lives, making the impact of clean water and decent toilets last for generations to come. So what have you done today with water? It's really, really easy for us. We turn on the tap and water comes out. So you've probably washed, showered, had a bath, been to the toilet and flushed it, washed your hands. I'm sure by this time of the day, you've all made a cup of tea or a coffee and had some squash. It's obviously a bit chilly outside, so the central heating we've used, cooking, dishwasher, washing machines. I don't know if some of you in the audience have a swimming pool, but if you do, then fantastic. You'll know how important clean water is. Imagine a day without water, without toilets, and without hygiene, what it would be like for you. So imagine for a moment going to the toilet outside, maybe in front of your family, friends, and neighbors, with no way to wash your hands afterwards. Now imagine that this isn't just one day, but your entire life. And imagine that you don't live in a country where you live now, but somewhere where you're not empowered or encouraged to demand access to these basic human rights. This is the reality for millions of people around the world. At WaterAid, we know it's not possible to break free from the cycle of poverty without access to water, sanitation, and hygiene. This is the situation that many people around the world deal with, and it shouldn't be normal. And supporters like you are making sure that it isn't. Together, we can work together to reach more people with clean water, decent toilets, and good hygiene. So I want to talk again about water. I mentioned at the beginning that 1 in 9 people don't have access to decent water close to home. For many people, walking long distances to collect water each day is a reality. And it's really tricky because often this is the responsibility of women and girls. Imagine if you or your daughter or your granddaughter had to walk long distances every day to collect water for the family. And people often carry up to 20 kilos of water. So that's like carrying a holiday suitcase on your head. So the 1 in 9 people in the world is about 844 million people who don't have access within 500 meters to their home. So we're not even talking here about people who don't have a tap in their house. Next, I'm going to show you a short video. This video shows Lala, who lives in Madagascar, who spends 2 hours a day collecting water. She's the eldest of 7 siblings and has been collecting water since the age of 4, usually twice a day.
At 1 mile, I wish my day could start like yours. On a gentle walk to school and later to a shopping mall, a party or a local park. At 2 miles, I contemplate what it's like at your place. To turn a tap and see the flow of water for a clean of teeth, a drink, a shower, and a wash of clothes. At 3 miles, I think of you. Perhaps you're in a swimming pool or eating at a restaurant with water bottles on your table. At 4 miles, I ask myself whether you ever given idle thoughts about my trek through scorching heat. To the spring, the riverbank, a muddy hole where I collect the dirty water I must drink. I start the 4-mile journey home. A full container on my back. Sometimes I daydream about other children in other countries far away from here. I wonder what the distance is of their daily water walk.
You've just seen the video of Lala walking to get water every day. And I just want to flag kind of another big concern that comes to these individuals who live in these developing countries. So appreciate that they may have to walk to get water for their families and for themselves. But imagine if the situation was that you had to walk to get water, but then the water that you were collecting was still not clean and not safe to drink. So just looking at this picture here of Mulu, who's 10 years old in Ethiopia, you can see livestock around the back, and you can tell that they're kind of using that water source as well. So I think that you can imagine how clean and safe this water would be for her and for her family. Quite often, the only source of water for people living in the world's poorest communities is a pond or a river. So imagine if your water, like Mulu's, was being used by animals and hundreds of other people a day for their daily activities. So not just for washing, for drinking, for doing things like washing and bathing. What that means is that water like this can be full of germs that spread diseases. So just to kind of share a really shocking statistic with you, around 289,000 children under 5 die each year from diarrheal diseases caused by poor water and sanitation. So that's 800 children per day, or 1 child every 2 minutes. So we've already spoken about the impact of clean water and how this can make a difference to people's lives. Next, I want to talk to you about decent toilets. And this is an even more shocking statistic. So I've already mentioned that 844 million people around the world don't have access to clean water. However, 2.3 billion people have nowhere safe and private to go to the toilet. So that's 1 in every 3 people. This picture is really powerful, I think. It shows Monica, who's the lady, the young lady carrying her daughter on her back and using the overhanging latrine in West Point, Monrovia. And this picture is really shocking because West Point is a township. It's home to about 75,000 people on just 4 square kilometers of land. It's Monrovia's largest and most densely populated slum. And in this area, 95% of the homes do not have access to latrine facilities. In fact, this toilet here is used by children who are in primary schools as well, rather than the school having a kind of dedicated toilet. So I've already mentioned clean water and decent toilets. Next, I want to talk about good hygiene. And I know particularly given the impact of the pandemic kind of through 2020 and 2021, I'm absolutely preaching to the choir here. And we all know how important hygiene is in order to live comfortably and safely and ensure that we're protected against disease. So hygiene is something that people learn about in different ways. So people in this country and kind of developed countries, it'll be really simply kind of part of the education and passed on culturally. But children in developing countries don't always have that same opportunity to hear the same messages about hygiene. So that's why it's really important that at WaterAid, we reinforce clean water and decent toilets with that messaging about good hygiene, and that can help save lives. I wanted to show you this picture next. This picture is actually of a health center in Mozambique, and the water here is used to wash medical equipment. Can you imagine you or your child or your grandchild being treated at this health center or having a baby at this health center? The simple fact is that you wouldn't be able to stay clean and healthy if you couldn't wash your hands after going to the toilet and before eating, if you didn't have clean water and soap at home, in school, and at work. So, despite the huge health benefits of hand washing with soap, only 2 in 10 people around the world do this after going to the toilet. Why is this? So, hand washing with soap, it can be time consuming. In practice, many people are living without the resources that we take for granted. So, when you actually kind of take a step back and think about the resources that you need to be able to wash your hands, it's a little bit jarring. So, you need to have an easily accessible supply of clean water, a sink, a soap dispenser, hand drying facilities, and then you need to have that the education and the know-how to be able to do that. In quite a lot of developing countries, soap is regarded as a really precious commodity and is often prioritized for tasks such as bathing, clothes washing, and dishwashing. So we've spoken a little bit about I guess the problems that we at WaterAid are trying to tackle. Just to give you a little bit of context about where we work, we have teams in 34 countries, and at WaterAid, we change millions of lives every year with clean water, decent toilets, and good hygiene. So country program teams provide water and sanitation to some of the world's most underprivileged communities. We're determined to make clean water, decent toilets, and good hygiene happen within a generation, and we know that the best way to do this is by working with others. That's why I'm so grateful to be here speaking with you today. And that's also why we're part of an active global network, including advisors, debate shapers, policymakers, engineers, campaigners, and fundraisers. We're all working towards a common goal. By working together, we can enable entire communities to unlock their potential, break free from poverty, and change their lives for good. So, talking a little bit about the history of WaterAid, in 1981, members of the UK water industry united to create a single international organization dedicated to the water crisis because one didn't exist. And together they founded WaterAid. WaterAid was officially established in 1981, and our first projects started in Zambia and Sri Lanka. By 1985, we were working with local partners in 10 countries. And by 1995, your support helped us reach 350,000 people. I want to tell you a little bit now about how we work with communities. So I really love this picture, and what it is it shows a community mapped out using chalk on the ground. And essentially what it is when WaterAid goes and helps a community, we really work to understand that community and their needs, because without working with them, we are not able to make lasting change. The picture is from Bangladesh, and you can see on there the houses, which are in red, the green dots, which are the taps, and then the brown huts, which are the toilets. So we involve local people in the discussion, and they can talk about their problems and then how they were going to solve it themselves. Additionally, another thing that's really important to us is just being aware and adapting to the impact of climate change. So we all know how critical climate change is in terms of the impact that it has to people's lives. So whilst we work with communities, it's something that we need to bear in mind and consider. I wanted to show you this really, really nice picture, which is a picture of Julia, who's 26 years old, and she lives in Bangladesh. So prior to this pump here that you can see being built, her and her family were suffering from the area's water contamination, and the water was contaminated with iron and arsenic. The salinity level of the water was also really, really high, which we'll all know is very unhealthy and poor for kind of people's bodies and their livelihood. So to collect safe drinking water previously, Julia had to travel miles and carry water from further sources. And this was a really similar scenario for other families in the communities. So WaterAid and HSBC established this pond sand filter. So pond sand filter is a really simple technology which essentially pumps water from a pond, so it's standing water, but then it's treated through a number of chambers containing sand and gravel. So it's almost the same way that we treat water in this country, which I think is really cool and really interesting. It treats the raw water and it removes turbidity, which is basically the little particulates floating around in the water. And then the water supplied through this PSF plant is free from iron, arsenic, and salt, and is suitable for consumption. What this means for Julia and her community is that now they all have access to clean and healthy drinking water, and they're able to live happy and meaningful lives. So next, I want to talk a little bit about the response to COVID-19. Our teams have been working urgently around the world to help stop the spread of coronavirus through safe water, sanitation, and good hygiene. WaterAid has been supporting government interventions and implementing COVID-19 response with the help of implementing partners in 10 districts of Pakistan, which is where this photo is from. Going forward, we are going to continue to build on the work that we've already done to make sure that everyone everywhere understands the value of good hygiene. So I want to show you this next other solution. Appreciate that I've already mentioned climate change, but I guess I want to talk about it because water and climate change are inextricably linked, as the effects of climate change are felt first through water. So we'll all know that droughts, floods, and storms are becoming more prevalent. We're becoming more aware of them. These disasters can destroy clean water supply and toilets, leaving behind contaminated water and putting the lives of millions of children and people at risk. And without clean water, children are at risk of diseases such as diarrhea. Bangladesh, amongst many other countries, is at a great risk of droughts and floods. It already has very low levels of access to water and sanitation, and many children are living in these areas who are extremely vulnerable. So to tackle climate change, we need to increase equitable access to sustainable water sources and improve sanitation. So in times of crisis and in times of stability, everyone everywhere is given a chance to survive and grow. And this picture here, I love. It's a climate resilient toilet. So the platform you can see is high off the ground, so there's no impact from tide waters overflowing to this toilet area. In terms of when we work with communities, we are always looking for technologies that's easy to transport, even to the world's most remote communities. It has to be simple to maintain and made from materials that are readily available in local markets, along with any spare parts. Technical solutions will not involve complex maintenance or expensive components or chemicals. And with the training we provide, they'll be easy for family and communities to use and maintain long after our partners have completed their work. It is vital that WaterAid works really, really closely with local communities to help them build water and toilet facilities. Communities know that if they have these things, they can plan a better future, so they're willing to take part in the projects themselves. It's important that everyone gets involved because if people contribute their savings, time, and effort to work towards something, they will care more about it. You will know that when people contribute towards a WaterAid project, they feel proud when it's completed and they're much more likely to protect it and look after it for years to come. So the work that I've described so far refer to the people that we directly reach through services delivered together with our partners. But to make lasting change happen on a massive scale, WaterAid also works with many different organizations to bring about change. And some of these things include lobbying the UK government through petitions, direct contact with MPs to ensure overseas aid budget includes water and sanitation in the projects it supports, convincing overseas governments to change laws, linking policymakers with communities and people on the ground to bring about change, changing attitudes and behaviors, pooling knowledge and resources, and rallying support from people and organizations around the world. And this is to reach United Nations Global Goal 6 for Sustainable Development, Water, Sanitation, and Hygiene for All by 2030. So you're probably wondering now how you can get involved. Well, firstly, I just want to thank you again for having me today. It's really great to hear so much enthusiasm and so much engagement from you. So I'm really glad to be with you today. So how else can you get involved? Well, events, you can run, cycle, swim for WaterAid. If you want to do a fundraising activity such as a bake sale, you can volunteer, so you can come and be like me and be a speaker. That would be great. Help us to raise awareness, talk to your friends and family. You can campaign, so sign a petition, lobby your MP, or you can organize events with your faith group or service club. So this is just a small selection of things that you can do to get involved. For more ideas, you can reach the WaterAid website or just catch up with me after this talk and we can speak about it more. I just want to thank you so much for listening to me today, and I'd welcome any questions from you now.